Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum and welcome back in our lecture number 5. And today's topic is economic systems in the world, as we discussed in our previous lecture as well. Now we are going to discuss socialism and communism and its comparison with Islamic economic system, and finally we will recap the whole economic systems and we will make a comparison between them. So before we go into details of our today's lecture, let's have a look about our previous lecture. In our previous lecture, we discussed the economic systems in the world, that was capitalism, socialism, communism, and Islamic economic system. Actually, Islamic economic system should come first because it was being practiced even before capitalism. But since long we are not aware of it, and we have been brought up in a system which is more of capitalistic nature. So the sequence goes like that: capitalism, socialism, communism, and Islamic economic system. And we discussed various forms of capitalism, that was laissez-faire capitalism, and then state capitalism, social capitalism, like that. And also we discussed the advantages and disadvantages. In advantages, we saw that world economy has grown so much because of the free market economy, because of the competition that is provided under the capitalistic form of businesses. And then there were so many disadvantages as well. One of the built-in disadvantage of capitalism is that it differentiates the people based on the wealth, and wealth, by its nature of capitalism, it accumulates with the wealthy people. And there was huge difference of wealth among the people. That was, if we look the overall world GDP, about 0.1% of the population of this world, they have almost 81% of the world wealth, and then only 99.9% of the people in this world, they have 19% of the wealth. So we can see there is a huge demarcation, and then this system creates classes based upon the wealth people they have: the poor, middle class, upper middle class, rich class, and very rich class. So then we had a comparison with the capitalism of Islamic economic system, and we saw different points that both of the systems, they are very much close to the human nature, as both of the systems, they provide liberty to the people to own property and to engage themselves in any business activity. But in Islamic economic system, nothing goes unbridled and everything has to be in the limits. So limits are defined by Sharia, which we know as halal and haram. So in Islamic economic system, people are not allowed to accumulate wealth or to earn profits using haram means like gambling, bribery, pornography, prostitution, and so many other businesses like narcotics. So, but these businesses, these things, they are somehow allowed in capitalism, because objective in capitalism has turned into accumulation of wealth. So that was our previous lecture, and now we are going to look into our today's lecture. So after today's lecture, you should be able to understand the characteristics of socialism and communism. There is so much ambiguity about the socialism and communism. People, they take them as a substitute of each other, but we will see some differences, and that will make the clarification as well. And we will compare them along the lecture. And also you will be able to analyze and evaluate which economic system is superior among the major economic systems in the world, that is capitalism, socialism, communism, and Islamic economic system. So after today's lecture, you will be having enough knowledge, you will be having enough tools with you such that you can compare the systems and you can evaluate which one is better and which one is the best. And characteristics of socialism and communism, we have so many characteristics. So based upon these characteristics, we will also make a comparison between socialism and communism. So it will more clarify the concept. So these are the points based upon we are going to make our discussion about communism and socialism. First of all, the definition of the systems, then ideas, and what's the philosophy behind the systems, and how do they deal religion, and economic coordination, economic system, and what are the key elements in the system, the political structure, social structure, free choices, way of change, private property, ownership structure, discrimination, and means of control. So these are the points based upon which we will differentiate socialism and communism, and on the later stage we are going to compare it with the other system, that is capitalism and Islamic economic system. So first of all, the definition. In communism, it's a theory or system of social organization based on the holding of all property in common with actual ownership ascribed to the community or the state. So everything belongs to the community or the state. All the factors of production, they are under the ownership of the community or state. Whereas in socialism, it's a theory or system of social organization based on the holding of most property in common with actual ownership ascribed to the workers. So concept is almost same. In case of socialism, everything, every factor of production is owned commonly by the workers who are working in that organization or in any institution or any manufacturing facility or in any service industry. So whatever is the field, workers, they own the property. Workers, they own the factors of production. So whatever is produced is for the workers of the society. And then what's the idea behind communism and socialism? I have made a comparison here because we take socialism and communism interchangeably. So, but here we can see there are a few differences as well. So, the human societies have always been divided into warring classes. The Industrial Revolution has enriched the wealthy and impoverished the poor. The workers must overthrow the bourgeois. Bourgeois are actually the people who hold wealth, who are the capitalists. So in a communistic society, people, the worker, the community, which has been divided into the capitalists and the labor. So the laborers will turn over and they will take hold of all the factors of production. And in socialism, all people should be given an equal opportunity to succeed. Workers should have most say in their factories' management. The free market suffers from problems like tragedy of commons. Government regulation is necessary. So there is a slight difference here. Like in socialism, people they do own factors of production, and the workers, they have a greater say in the operations of their organizations. And this system avoids the ills of capitalistic system, where the capitalist is everything and the laborers, they just have to perform according to the assigned duties, and they have no say, and they are simply working, and sometimes they are being exploited by the capitalist. So the idea is that the laborers, they revolt against the capitalist. So it resulted in the evolution of socialism, and then it turned into communism. And we will see how socialism and communism, they are different from each other. And if I say in one word, communism is the rude form of socialism. And the philosophy of communism and socialism is that from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. So in communism, the state, they will provide certain avenues where the people, they will work according to their abilities. For example, engineer will be given the opportunity to perform the things like that according to his ability. A farmer who has expertise in growing crops will be given the opportunities to grow crops. But the thing is that for their hard work, they are not allowed to take according to their ability or the hard work they did. They will be given only the necessities of life. And free access to articles of consumption is made possible by advances in technology that allow for superabundance. So the idea is to produce more and more, such that every segment of the society, every individual is the priority, is provided with all the facilities of life. And on the other hand, socialism, the philosophy of socialism is that from each according to his ability, just like communism, to each according to his contribution. So the main difference is that in communism, from each according to the ability, then in reward, the necessities of life, they are provided. But in case of socialism, necessities of life, they are provided to each, plus according to the ability, the reward is also different. So the emphasis on profit being distributed among the society or workforce in addition to receiving a wage. So the people, they will be receiving their wage plus any surplus the organizations they earn, that is also divided among the workers. And how do these systems they deal with the religion? As I said earlier, communism is the rude form of socialism where religion is not allowed. So as we saw in the United Soviet States of Russia, religion was abandoned. And if we look at the condition of the Central Asian states, the Muslim states, after the 70-80 years of rule by the Russia, now the Muslims of that area, they have forgotten the basic rules of Islam because they were not allowed to practice Islam, to study Islam, and likewise all the religions, they were banned under the communistic regime. Whereas in socialism, there is freedom of religion. People they have their own choices. Whatever religion they want to follow, they are allowed. People can have different faiths, people they can follow different religions, so there is a freedom of religion. And economic coordination. In communism, government controls all the businesses as well as business decisions. As I said earlier, in communism, factors of production, they are owned by the government. So accordingly, government would decide which businesses to start and which businesses not to start, and what products to produce and what not to produce, and for whom to produce and how much to produce. All these decisions, they are taken by the government. Whereas in socialism, planned socialism relies principally on planning to determine investment and production decisions. And in socialism, it is a collective responsibility of the society, and where the workers or the organizations, they decide where to invest and how much to produce and for whom to produce, where to market it, things like that. And planning may be centralized or decentralized. Market socialism relies on markets for allocating capital to different socially owned enterprises. So the enterprises, they are socially owned. Workers, they are actually in charge of those organizations. And accordingly, the capital will be allocated to different socially owned organizations. And the economic system under communism is that wealth redistributed so that everyone in the society is given equal shares of the benefits derived from the labor. All means of production are controlled by the state. So as all means of production are controlled by the state, and whatever is the product, the labor of every individual produces something. So all those produces, they are combined together, and on the other hand, all the individuals, they are provided with the necessities of life. So whatever is the product, whatever is the reward of the labor of the collective effort of the people in the communism, that is redistributed among the people, among the community, or among the individuals of the state. Whereas in socialism, wealth redistributed so that everyone in the society is given somewhat equal share of the benefits derived from the labor, but people can earn more if they work harder, and means of production are controlled by the workers themselves. So the difference here is that the means of production, that is, we know them as factors of production as well, they are controlled by the workers, and whatever benefits they derive out of their labor, people, they get reward of their labor, and the people who work more, they will get more reward, and the people who work less, they might get lesser reward. And then finally, whatever is left, maybe the profits of that organization, they are divided equally among all the workers. But on the other hand, the hard workers, they can earn more reward than the people who don't work hard. The next characteristics of the systems of communism and socialism, that is the key elements. It is under communism, it's an enhanced form of the principle of production for use. So the state determines what are the uses and what are the requirements in the society and what the community needs, and how to fulfill their requirements, how much to produce, how to produce, all these decisions, they are taken by the state. And in socialism, economic activity and production especially are adjusted to meet human needs and economic demands. So all the production, like communism, is directed towards the fulfilling of needs of the people and some economic demands as well. So in the international market, where the economies, they have demands, if there are excess resources, if there is something left after fulfilling the demands of the local people, then those things can be produced for the people of other regions, for other countries as well, and it can be exported as well. And the production for use, that is useful goods and services, are produced specifically for the usefulness. The things which are useful, that are only produced. So both almost share the same concept under the key elements of communism and socialism. In the political system under communism, there is no leader directed directly by the people. This has never been actually practiced and has just used a one-party system. So in communism, as we saw in our neighboring China, there is one party which is ruling for a long time, and that party is known as Communist Party, and actually they should be out of the people. But the thing is that the regimes, they control the government. Like in Russia, there was a regime who were ruling the country, and now in China, they don't have democracy. Rather, they have a party. The ruling party, they call themselves as a Communist Party. And in socialism, there is possibility of multiple parties, but the ruling party usually goes by the name of socialists. In communism, the other parties, they are discouraged. Only one party system is there. Whereas in socialism, there can be so many parties, but the ruling party, they are called socialists. In the social structure, in communism, all class distinctions are eliminated. There is no class distinction among the people, no poor, no rich. Everyone is getting equal share of the nation's income. Everyone has equal opportunities to work. Everyone is allowed or is used or forced to work according to his or her ability. And whereas in socialism, class distinctions are diminished, because the classes, they evolve because of the level of wealth people they have. Under socialism, people, they can earn more according to their abilities or according to the hard work they can do. So the people can have more reward, they can accumulate more wealth than other people, and they can have a better lifestyle, better livelihoods. And also sometimes they are allowed to control some means of production as well, just for small organizations. But the corporations, the bigger organizations, they are state-owned, and workers, they run those organizations. And the free choices, the liberty to choose under communism, in real communism where a leader doesn't exist, where all the people, they control the economy and they control the affairs of the nation, everything is chosen freely. In those that have been practiced, though, all choices including education, religion, employment, and marriage, all are controlled by the state. So the state is controlling the education, religion, employment, and marriage. When the state requires people to have such and such skills for a particular job, they will offer them those skills. Whereas in case of religion, state will determine that people are allowed to practice any religion or not. And also, in case of marriages, the state has its control as well. And in employment, the state will decide where to employ the people. It is highly possible, and it is the practice as well, that people, they are not used according to their abilities, according to their innovative skills, according to their personal experiences and their skills. Rather, the state would decide that what to do, where to employ, and whether the people should be allowed to follow some religion, or how much education should be allowed for the individuals. And when states thinks it is good, they would allow to get more education, and when they think now it's time to work, they will decide there is no education, but now there should be some employment. And in case of socialism, all choices including education, religion, employment and marriage are up to the individual. All health care and education is provided free to everybody. So it's a pure, welfare state kind of concept, where people, they are free to do whatever they want, and state would help them in health care and education. And the ways of change. When the people, they want some change, we saw changes every day. For example, we see fashions, they are changing all the time. We see the infrastructure is changing all the time. We see so many cultural changes happening all the time. But in case of communism, the state would determine what will be the change. Government in a communist state is the agent of change rather than any market or desire on the part of consumers. So the government would decide how to change and what to change. Instead, the people would decide what to do, or let the market forces to determine what fashions should be there and what culture should be there. Rather, state would control all such things. Change by government can be swift or slow, depending on change in ideology or even desire. So against the ideology of the people or against the desire of the people, the state can bring about change. Whereas in socialism, workers in socialist state are the agent of change. Rather than any market or desire on the part of consumers, change by workers can be swift or slow, just like communism, depending on change in ideology or even whim, the desires. So again, the concept is somewhat same. In communism, the state would decide about the change, and in case of socialism, the workers, they would decide about the change. So the change is controlled in both of these systems. And right to own property, in case of communism, it is completely abolished. Everything, every factors of production and every asset or every private property is the ownership of the state or the community as a whole. And no individual is allowed to own any property in the state. Whereas in case of socialism, people, they are allowed to own property, the private properties like land, houses, clothing, and they are discouraged to own any factors of production because they are not allowed to engage in any such business activity which is on a larger scale. On a smaller scale, they can engage some business activity as well, but on the larger scale, people, the government or the workers, they would decide about the organizations. So this is again against the human nature, that people, they want to grow, people, they want to own more and more. This is our basic instinct, our basic desire. So these desires, they are discouraged under communism and socialism, whereas the public property like factories and means of production, they are owned by the state but under the workers' control. And ownership structure. In case of communism, the means of production are commonly owned. All the individuals, they own the means of production, whatever wealth is there in the country, and meaning no entity or individual owns productive property. Importance is ascribed to usership over ownership. So the main concept here is that no one will be owning anything, rather the people can use those things. So factors of production, they are there, but not in the individual's ownership, rather in the state ownership, and the usefulness is for everyone. And the state would provide all the insurances, social insurances, and the necessities of life, what we know as roti, kapda, makan, and health care and education, everything. And in socialism, the means of production are socially owned, with the surplus value produced accruing to either all of society and public ownership models or to all the employees, that is, members of the enterprise. in cooperative ownership model. So there are different ownership models: public ownership model, cooperative ownership model. So whatever is excessive produced more than the needs of the people, that is distributed among the society or among the workers of that corporation. And discrimination. Under communism, in theory, all members of the state are considered equal. There is no discrimination at all. Theory would suggest that there are no classes, so there is no discrimination. Everyone is equal, and people, they are treated equally under communism. And in socialism, the people are considered equal. Laws are made when necessary to protect people from discrimination. So these two systems, they ensure that every individual in the society, they are equal. And it has created some problems as well. For example, Islam says that the people, they can be unequal regarding their economic conditions. People, they can be wealthier, people, they can be poor. And the people who are wealthy, they are wealthy because the poor can provide them some services. And the wealthy people, they can take in for the labor, for the services. But if everyone is equal in the society, so if the people, they want to take benefit from each other, no one is ready to work for anybody else. So no labor is available, no services are available in the economy or in the society. So then it's the responsibility of the state to provide each and every facility of the individual to the individuals, and to fulfill the requirements of each and every individual in the society, which is ideally not possible. But according to these systems, this is just an ideal system, but practically it is not possible. And the means of control under the systems is that under communism, proletariats engage in violent rebellion, and they take control of all the means of production. And control is with the labor, with the workers, with the individuals of the nation. Whereas in socialism, proletariat engages in taking charge of the factories and means of production. So actually both of these systems, they came into being in the result of a revolt against the capitalists, what we know as the bourgeois. So bourgeois and proletariats, there was a clash between them. So the laborers, they overthrown the bourgeois, the capitalists, and socialism and communism, they emerged. So the means of control, it is with the people, with the labor instead of the capitalists under communism and socialism. So we saw that, we discussed the characteristics of both of these systems, and we saw that it is somewhere against the nature of human, like the instinct of human. For example, personally, I want to own so many things. I want to own factors of production. I want to own my own business, and I want to expand my business, and I want to expand it maybe in a bigger corporation, from a small business to a big corporation. So, and I want to be recognized for the hard work and for the innovative work of mine, and maybe I want to get some proper reward of my efforts. So, but these systems, they discourage all such human instincts. So when these systems, they were in place, and when they were imposed, there was so much resistance. So there was so much opposition from the people, but the system was forced upon the people, and we can see the number of victims. There were so many killings while the systems, they were put in place. So these systems, they are not compatible with the human nature. So there was a fierce resistance from the public, particularly the capitalists, entrepreneurs, and farmers. The people who were having wealth with them, the people of who were having some businesses with them, the entrepreneurs, and the farmers. So these were the people who opposed this system the most, and they were the victims more than any other victim. And in his book, The Black Book of Communism, Stephen Courtois claims that total death toll reaches 94 million during its implementation. So you can imagine the fierce resistance from the people, because people, they were not willing to lose what they were having. So they resisted and they were killed. And the breakdown of numbers of deaths given by Courtois is as follows. In different parts of the world, while this system, communism and socialism, when they were being implemented, so against the revolts, against the resistance, the government forces, they killed people, and the death toll, they are huge. For example, in China only 65 million people, they were killed. And then in Soviet Union, about 20 million people, they were killed while communism was implemented. And in Cambodia, 2 million, in North Korea, 2 million, and 1.7 million people, they were killed in Africa, and 1.5 million people, they were killed in Afghanistan when Russian forces, they tried to occupy the region and tried to implement their own system in the region. And in that time, 1.5 million people, they were killed. And 1 million in the communist state of Eastern Europe, and 1 million in Vietnam, and 150,000 in Latin America, mainly in Cuba, and 10,000 deaths resulting from actions of the international communist movement and communist parties not in power. So these are the death tolls taken place in different parts of the world. And Courtois claims that communist regimes are responsible for a greater number of deaths than any other political ideal or movement. We see different types of discriminations and killings. Even under capitalism, there have been so many killings. But when the systems they were implemented, since capitalism is a free market system, it advocates freedom. So we can say the result of the system is that people are being killed. So the lust for wealth is resulting in killings of the people. But when the theory or when the ideology of communism and socialism, they were implemented, there were more killings than we can see under the capitalism. So Courtois claims that communist regimes are responsible for a greater number of deaths than any other political ideal or movement, including Nazism. The statistics of victims includes executions, famine, deaths resulting from deportations, physical confinement, or through forced labor. So these were different techniques where the forces they used to kill people. And now we are going to discuss the major differences among the systems, and we see how Islam positions itself against these systems. So the first criteria about to discuss or to judge which system is better is liberty to earn. In capitalism, it is a voluntary economic system where people trade in a free market and earn product of their labor and can trade it against the product of others' labor. Unbridled liberty leads to so many immoral activities that cause the destruction of the health, moral values, and economic conditions of the nation. So the concept of freedom under the capitalism, it has led to so many bad things as well. There are so many good things, but the bad things are also there. It leads to different moral problems, different products which are against the society, against the welfare of the society. So, but the objective is wealth in capitalism. Capital is being the objective. So people, they want to accumulate more and more wealth. They want to be rich under the system. So they would use whatever fair and foul means are in place. They will increase their wealth. So there is a liberty in capitalism, and the people, they have full liberty to earn whatever means they use, right or wrong. Whereas in communism and socialism, and in socialism to a large extent, the product of people's labor is confiscated by the state to distribute it equally among the public. So whatever people they do their hard work, particularly in communism, whatever hard work or whatever expertise I put in my job, I'm supposed to get only necessities of life, equal to anybody else, equal to a person who is not capable of doing anything, or equal to a person who puts only 10% of the effort, and all the people, they will be getting the same. A person putting 100% of the effort and a person putting 10% of the effort. Both will be getting the same reward and same thing. And people have to lose their earnings in a coercive environment. For example, many Ukrainian farmers were killed because they tried to conceal the grains of their sustenance. In Ukraine, the farmers, they concealed the grains, the crops, and they were killed by the state, by the USSR, the United Soviet States of Russia at that time, because the state will take away whatever people they do and whatever is the produce of the labor of people. So the idea is that whatever is produced, state will collect it and then will distribute it among the nation equally. And then Islamic economic system says that individuals are allowed to operate freely in the market and they can engage in any business activity provided that they are Sharia compliant. So the individuals, they have to take care of halal and haram. So haram are those things which are against the moral values of the society, or which are against the good of the society, the larger good of the society. No individual is allowed to harm the society or individuals, and there are so many things like bribery, gambling, narcotics, and so smuggling, and any means which are useful or are allowed under capitalism to earn as much as they want. They may not be allowed in Islam. So only halal means they are allowed. People, they can earn as much as they want using halal means of business activities. And the second point to judge the systems is liberty to own property. So the capitalism allows the people to own as much they can, and lust to accumulate more and more wealth leads towards unfair means of earning and an imbalance in the distribution of wealth. As we mentioned in a previous point as well, that people, they are free to engage themselves in any business activity, whether it is good for the society or bad for the society. But the idea is that people, they want to earn as much as they want, and by their earning they want to increase their wealth. And there is no limit as to the ownership of wealth. People, they can own as much as they want. This is capitalism. And in communism and socialism, both of these systems, they restrict the right of ownership. In communism, no one is allowed to own any means of production at all, or wealth belongs to the whole nation. And no individual has the right to own property under communism. Whereas in socialism, people, they can own the properties like land, small piece of land, clothing and house. And Islam, on the other hand, allows the people to own property as much they want, but with the unique concept that everything, every asset, every wealth belongs to Allah. So when we earn it using halal means, we are not allowed under Islamic economic system to earn any property, to own any property using haram means. All activities should be Sharia compliant. And the basic concept is that Allah is the owner of everything. So whatever amount of wealth we have, then we are encouraged to pay obligatory taxes and charity, what we know as sadaqat. So for example, zakat is an obligatory tax, whatever wealth we have for full 1 year. And then besides that, Muslims, the followers of Islamic economic system, they are encouraged to do charity as well. So the people, they have the right to own property. There is no restriction upon them, but provided that they do the charity and zakat as well. Because Allah says, وَفِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ, as we have discussed in our previous lectures as well, that whoever is having wealth, that wealth is trusted from Allah. So it's a trust, because Allah is the owner of all the assets, all the wealth, and Allah has trusted the right to use that wealth to the people. And in the wealth of the people, there is right of people who are needy and the people who are deprived of those wealth. So Islam ensures that people can have more and more wealth. At the same time, they should circulate the wealth as well. And the third point is the distribution of wealth. It is discussed in previous slide as well. Under capitalism, people use unfair means to accumulate more and more wealth. And as we saw in our previous lecture, the wealth accumulates in an unfair manner among different segments of the society because classes have been created under the capitalism. So the upper classes, they hold most of the wealth. As we saw that overall wealth of the nations, only 0.1% of the total population of the world they own 81% of the total property of the total wealth in the world. And so it means there is unfair distribution under the capitalism. And socialism and communism claim equal distribution of wealth, which is against the laws of nature, as it will limit the desire to work, because everyone will be having equal amount of wealth, so nobody would be willing to work for others. So nobody can enjoy the services of labor, and everyone has to do his jobs by himself, and the state will be responsible for each and everything for the individuals of the state, which practically is not possible. And in case of Islam, Islam allows the people to earn using halal means, and using halal means, people they can earn as much as they want. And then at the same time, Islam encourages the circulation of wealth using the means of charity, sadaqat, different taxes like zakat, and the state they can also apply some taxes as well. So distribution of wealth in Islamic economic system will make sure that everyone is having at least such an amount of wealth with him or her, such that they don't have to extend their hands for help to others. The system will take care of themselves because everyone will be taking care of each other. And at the fourth criteria is the reward of labor in capitalism, socialism, and Islamic economic system. Capitalism, socialism, and Islamic economic system recognizes the hard work of the labor by paying them accordingly, whereas communism doesn't recognize this right of the workers. Except communism, all three major systems, they recognize the hard work of the labor, and the labor they can earn according to the hard work they put in their work. Whereas in communism, people, how much hard work they do, they are not recognized, and they are only provided with the necessities of life. Everyone is supposed to be equal, and people they are supposed to work and earn only necessities of life. And all the facilities of all the social securities, they are provided by the state. And innovativeness of the system, freedom of production and marketing, sense of achievement and recognition in Islamic economic system and capitalism, they result in more sophisticated, innovative, and useful products in the economy. So when there is a competition, people they have to make room for themselves, people they have to create market share for themselves, so the people will be innovating their products. Some more inventions will be taking place all the time. As we see under capitalism, there are so many things new have been manufactured, have been innovated and invented. And if we compare the inventions under capitalism and socialism, we can see a great difference. Mostly the socialist regimes, they copied most of the inventions under the capitalistic regimes. So the free market system under capitalism and Islamic economic system, it encourages more and more useful products, more innovations, more inventions. Whereas the nature of the systems of socialism and communism, because of the less recognition on the part of the laborers, how much hard work the labor does, they are only supposed to get livelihood of the life, only roti, kapda, and makan, and maybe some other social securities. So there is no urge to engage in more and more useful activities of innovation and invention. And the social structure under the systems, socialism and communism diminishes and eliminates the class system in the society. all the individuals, they are supposed to be equal under socialism and communism. Whereas in case of Islam, Islam allows the people to be unequal economically, whereas wealth and personal characteristics of the individuals, they would determine the ranks also in the society. For example, the people with more wealth and with more personal characteristics, they can be in the higher ranks and they can use the services of the people in the lower ranks. Ranks would mean that the people are different economically and with their personal capabilities. So there are powerful people, there are weak people in the society, there are healthy people, there are sick people in the society as well. Whereas in case of socialism and communism, every individual is supposed to be equal, whatever the personal characteristics are. The one person who can exert more effort, who can work harder, who is intelligent, is equal with a person who can't work hard and is not intelligent as well. Whereas capitalism and Islam, they recognize these characteristics. The people, with their personal characteristics, they can be higher in ranks, they can earn more reward, they can go for innovative business ideas, and they can have a status in the society. But as far as the social makeup is concerned, under Islamic economic system, everyone is equal. Socially, everybody is equal. There is no preference of between the white and black, based on the tribes. Everyone is equal. Tribes are only made for the introduction. So, in Islam, Allah says, "Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum." So, in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is more respectable is the one which is more pious. So, the piety would determine that who is more respected in the society. But according to the personal characteristics and wealth, people can be unequal, but socially they are supposed to be equal under Islamic economic system. Whereas capitalism, on the other hand, has created classes, and the people with wealth, the rich people, they don't consider the poor people with same status with themselves. So they think that we are something different, and the people who are not having wealth, they are something different. So the wealth would determine that who is more respected in the society. So there is a huge discrimination under the capitalistic form of system regarding the equality or the respect of individuals. And ways of change, as we discussed in the characteristics of socialism and communism, state and the workers would determine the change should be allowed or not, and when the change should take place. Whereas in capitalism, the market determines the change in production, while government only regulates the business practices. So the change is taking place all the time under the capitalistic form of business or the economy. The market would determine how the change would take place, how the cultural values should take changes or different shapes, and how the fashion is changing, and how, with the new inventions and the innovations, everything is changing. The pace of life has gone so fast that now we have to adjust with it with some more changes in the society. Whereas Islam allows changes through the forces of the market, provided that it doesn't go against the religious and moral values of the society. So Islam always has a confinement. Islam always limits everything, because any unlimited or uncontrolled, unbridled liberty can lead to so many problems in the society. So Islam always puts a balance between anything. So if there is a change has to be taken place, it can take place, but it should not cross the limits. It should be within the bounds of Sharia. Every change should be Sharia compliant. Within that circle, everything is allowed. But beyond that, the Islam will not allow it. So we have to take care of halal and haram. So the modesty is there. It's a moderate system, as we see, as we compare it with other systems. Religion capitalism, socialism and Islam give the people right to live according to their faith. Whatever religion they want to follow, they are allowed to do that. Whereas under communism, it bans any kind of religions. People, they are not allowed to follow any of the religions, but this is against the nature and human instinct. We individuals, the human, we want to follow some religion. We want to believe in somebody who is very much powerful. So if this right is restricted, so it can lead to so many problems in the society. It may be a depressed society. So where the religion is allowed to practice, it is the people, they can express themselves, it can be a healthier society. So Islam also allows the people to follow whatever religion they want to follow, but the condition is that no practice should harm the society. The people, they can follow their religions and they have to be responsible at the same time. So the summary of today's lecture, before we summarize it, we can see the different characteristics we discussed, the system of Islamic economic system, socialism, capitalism and communism. So we can see that Islam is not an uncontrolled and unbridled kind of system where individuals, they are allowed to do whatever they want. Rather, it limits the activities of the individuals and it brings them accountable, and not only in this world but also in the world hereafter. So we have to take care of the laws of the governments in this world, and also we are supposed to take care of the laws devised by Quran and Hadith. And ideally, the state should be having laws according to the Quran and Hadith, but if we are living in a position, in an economy or in an environment where Quran and Hadith, they are not the laws of the state, so we should take care of the laws of the state, and also we should take care of the laws of Quran and Hadith. So in today's lecture, we discussed the following things. First of all, we discussed the characteristics of socialism and communism. We compared both of the systems because there are so many ambiguities about the systems. People, they take socialism and communism exchangeably, that they think they both are same thing, but there are some differences. So we compared them based upon their definition, ideas, economic system, social structure, freedom of choice, ownership of private property, and means of control, and so many other things. And then we made a comparison between the major systems like capitalism, socialism, communism, and Islamic economic system. So if we look at the sequence, in the capitalism, when the people, they revolted against capitalism, the labor, the workers, they revolted against the bourgeois. Bourgeois are the capitalists, the people having capital with them. The labor and the capitalist, they were always the relationship was always tense. So it resulted in a revolt that labor turned over the system, and the capitalists, they resisted against the system. So the countries who followed it, they were called socialists and communists. So still we have so many socialist parties, they are claiming so many social reforms in the society, in the countries. We have social democracies in different parts of the world, but the socialism then gradually converted into communism. And the communism is, as I said earlier, it's a strict form of socialism where the flexibilities were provided in socialism, they have been eradicated in the communism. So the freedom of religion and the reward of one's labor, these concepts are totally different under communism and socialism. And then Islam, which was being practiced successfully, and Islamic economic system which was being practiced successfully some centuries ago, and it was overthrown when the Khilafat Usmaniya was finished. So until that, Islamic economic system was being practiced in most part of the Muslim world. But when later on Muslim countries were colonized, so the systems, they were replaced with capitalism, and in some parts socialism, particularly in the Central Asia, the Central Asian countries, Muslim countries, they were under the communist regimes. So after freedom from those countries, after liberalization from those colonial powers, against the movement of Islamic economic system, it surfaced in the Muslim world, and now there is a buzzword of Islamic economic system. And so many Western scholars also, they think that Islam can provide solutions to the problems of the mankind, to the economic problems of the world, and the future lies in the Islamic economic system. So with these words, let's finish our today's lecture, and until next lecture, Assalamu alaikum and goodbye.